You were taught to shine, to smile for applause, to show your best angles, to speak your best lines, and to decorate your mediocrity with validation. But I tell you, the brightest lights attract only the most desperate moths. True power does not glow, it eclipses. It is not found on stages or in profiles. It is the man who walks unnoticed, and yet everything shifts when he enters the room. He says little, because he needs nothing. He takes no part in your carnival of masks, because he is the architect of the silence that unnerves you. You think he is absent, but he is everywhere, like a god who stopped begging to be worshipped. If you feel this silence, it is because you have begun to remember who you are beneath all the noise. The man who no longer reacts, no longer explains, no longer justifies, this man has already won the war within. His silence is not emptiness. It is dominance in its purest form. You scream when you're afraid. You argue when you're unsure. But he watches. And when he speaks, it is not to inform, it is to wound, to direct, to dominate. If this truth disturbs you, good. Share it with those who pretend they're strong and watch them flinch. And before we continue, if you felt this shadow inside you growing, like a beast ready to devour your old self, like a king unmasking himself among clowns, then like this video now, and send it to the bravest friend you have. Only the brave will understand what's coming. Emotion, that sacred cow of the modern herd. They worship it like truth, treat it like virtue, defend it like identity. But I say unto you, emotion is the leash they use to pull you. The one who reacts, bleeds. The one who hesitates, dies. You call it authenticity. I call it exposure. Your tears, your outrage, your trembling joy are all doors, and anyone with a mind sharper than your heart can walk through them and rearrange your reality. A predator does not need fangs if his prey offers its neck. Feel what you must, but reveal nothing. Transform your emotion into observation. That is the way of the lucid spirit, the way of the one who commands. The world belongs not to those who speak first, but to those who see first. The loud man impresses crowds. The silent one chooses who will fall. You look at faces. I look at micro-expressions. You hear compliments. I hear hesitation. You wait to respond. I already know the next 3 moves. Do you want to win in this life? Then stop listening for meaning and start watching for weakness. The eyes never lie. The body never lies. Truth is not spoken. It leaks. The true strategist is not a philosopher of words, but a surgeon of signals. While others scream to be heard, he is already rewriting the script from the shadows. Presence, that invisible force that bends the air, stiffens backs, silences rooms. Not because you say anything, but because you are something. In a world addicted to noise, the one who walks in stillness becomes a storm. Control your energy and you control perception. The sheep demand to be understood. The lion demands nothing, he just is. Be unreadable, be felt, not analyzed. There is more power in a raised eyebrow than in 1,000 shouted truths. Remember, the moment you explain yourself, you shrink. But the moment they cannot read you, they fear you. And fear is the first taste of obedience. Words. You throw them around like confetti, like children playing with blades. But the wise know, every word is a weapon, every sentence a spell. Speak not to express, but to program. Speak not to connect, but to infect. When I speak, I do not inform, I rewire. And when I fall silent, it is because the silence cuts deeper. So choose. Do you want to be liked or to be obeyed? Those who speak to be liked become clowns, but those who speak to control become kings. If you feel the weight of this, if your tongue has been dancing for too long just to be loved, then it's time to sharpen it. Speak less. But when you do, aim for the soul. Freedom begins the day you no longer need applause, nor rescue, nor companionship, nor understanding. The self-sufficient man is feared not because he is cruel, but because he is whole. Nothing corrodes the ego of the manipulator more than a soul that doesn't flinch, doesn't answer, doesn't beg. He leaves the room and doesn't look back. He's not cold. He's complete. And completeness is terrifying to those who only know themselves in fragments. Dependence is the leash they place around your neck with a kiss. But when you no longer need them, they call you dangerous. And they are right. They call it love. I call it camouflage. You enter with flowers, but behind every romance is a negotiation of power. And most of you are losing. Not because you're unworthy, but because you're unaware. The modern relationship is not about affection. It's about leverage. Words become weapons. Affection becomes currency. Intimacy becomes surveillance. The one who feels most loses first. So if you love, love with eyes open. Love as a warrior loves a sword, sharp, disciplined, and ready to let go when it becomes dull. Because in this age, to love blindly is not noble. It is suicidal. There is no vengeance more elegant than disappearance. Not the screaming exit, not the shattered plates, not the public confrontation, but the cold silence that follows without explanation. You vanish, you become a void. And suddenly, those who played with your presence now drown in your absence. They scroll, they search, they imagine. Your silence becomes their obsession. And the beauty, you owe them nothing. No warning, no closure, no permission. The god does not explain why the sun stops rising. He simply chooses a new sky. So disappear, and let the echo of your absence teach them what your presence never could. They cannot control what they cannot predict. That is why they fear the unpredictable man, the one who moves like wind, who laughs when others weep, who loves and leaves without pattern. The world teaches you to be consistent. I say be wild, be chaos in a suit, be elegance in motion but never a pattern they can trace. Predictability is obedience dressed as personality, but when they can no longer guess your next move, they stop playing. Because power is not just in what you do, it's in their inability to prepare. Confuse them, and in their confusion, rule. They told you to be yourself. What a delightful trap, as if the self were something pure, fixed and sacred. No, my friend, the self is a costume and the wise man owns a wardrobe. Masks are not lies, they are tools. The one who clings to a single identity is a slave to it, but the one who shifts shape, who wears faces like armor, who becomes what the situation demands, that man is free. Do not seek to be authentic, seek to be effective. And if wearing a mask gives you power, then wear it with pride. Let the others drown in their sincerity. You'll be rewriting the script behind the curtain. Control is not loud. It does not shout commands, it does not bark orders or beat its chest. Control is the man who smiles and changes the temperature in the room. He doesn't raise his voice. He lowers expectations. He doesn't demand. He suggests, and people obey without knowing why. You think force is strength? No. True strength is never having to use force. The king does not play the game. He designs the board. Be that man, the one who whispers once and shifts destinies. If you're still roaring to be heard, it's because you're not yet truly in control. The most dangerous weapon in the world is not a bomb, not a bullet. It is a mind that has detached itself from morality, a mind that no longer seeks approval nor forgiveness, a mind that calculates instead of cries. While others kneel at altars of guilt and shame, this mind builds empires. It is not human, it is something beyond, and that is what terrifies them. Because you can't bribe it with love. You can't blackmail it with fear. It has become pure function, pure will, pure precision. You call it cold, I call it clean. The divine begins when the sentimental ends. Everyone wants to win. How vulgar. The desperate crave victory because they need validation. But the master? He doesn't want to win the game, he wants to alter it. Rewrite the rules, change the board. Watch the players crumble as the game mutates under his will. This is the difference between the competitor and the creator. The competitor chases trophies. The creator shapes worlds. So ask yourself, do you want their applause, their medals, their pity? Or do you want to be the storm they never saw coming? If you felt the hunger not to win, but to reign, then subscribe now. This isn't a channel, it's a revolution. The modern man is a slave in disguise, a servant wrapped in digital chains, smiling while starving. He scrolls instead of hunts. He posts instead of acts. He debates instead of conquers. And worse, he believes this makes him free. But I see through it. I see his impotence masked as virtue, his cowardice baptized as empathy. The herd has become global, but it still stinks of fear. You think you're informed? No, you're programmed. You think you're evolving? No, you're conforming. Until the day you stop reacting and start architecting. That day, you cease being a product and begin becoming a force. They'll call you arrogant, they'll call you cold, they'll say you've changed, and you must smile, because that means it's working. Growth terrifies the stagnant, silence offends the loud, independence insults the needy. So let them talk. Their words are paper, yours are steel. You were not born to be understood, you were born to be undeniable. The moment they can no longer predict you, they'll try to shame you. The moment they can no longer shame you, they'll try to erase you. And the moment they can no longer erase you, they'll follow you. Because power never asks to be followed. It moves, and the world adjusts. The highest form of revenge is not punishment. It is transcendence. While they gossip, you grow. While they plot, you disappear. And in your absence, they rot, because they needed your reaction to survive. Understand this: those who provoke are starving for your energy. Don't feed them. Let them scream into silence. Let them fight shadows. Your indifference is a guillotine, and every second you remain unmoved, their relevance bleeds out. The man who doesn't look back is not heartless. He's healed. And that healing is the most violent thing they'll ever witness. The masses are addicted to recognition. Every action must be seen, every thought validated, every step applauded. But you must become the phantom, the shadow that haunts the system. They cannot control what they cannot categorize, so become unlabelable. Let your movements contradict their expectations. Smile when they expect fury. Walk away when they expect a fight. Win without being seen. And when they finally look for you, let them find only the echo of your legend. That is power, not in being visible, but in being unforgettable, even in your absence. They ask, "But who are you really?" As if the answer mattered. Identity is a coffin. They want to know your label so they can predict your limits. But the one who wields masks is limitless. Be gentle, be brutal, be silent, be storm, but never be expected. The world fears the shapeshifter because he does not kneel to the altar of selfhood. He bends his form to fit the moment, and in doing so escapes every cage. If they cannot name you, they cannot claim you. And if they cannot claim you, they must bow. Let the others rage. Let them burn their lungs trying to prove their worth. You will move like the moon, cold, distant, and magnetic. You don't need to convince. You don't need to announce. Your power is felt, not heard. That is why it endures. Those who scream today will be forgotten tomorrow. But those who whispered with precision, their words echo for centuries. Do not waste your breath on noise. Speak when the silence becomes unbearable, and make every syllable a weapon. A god does not argue, he declares. I have seen men destroy themselves for love, for approval, for the illusion of being chosen. But understand this: the one who needs nothing commands everything. Detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. When your happiness no longer depends on a smile, a reply, a presence, you become untouchable. They'll call you unreachable, arrogant, distant, but secretly they'll crave your orbit, because your indifference becomes gravity. In a world begging to be needed, the man who doesn't beg becomes myth. Modern affection is often a transaction wrapped in poetry. They offer forever, but mean until you stop feeding my ego. They say, I love you, but mean I love what you reflect back to me. The lucid man sees this. He does not hate it. He studies it. He smiles at declarations, but records behavior. He knows that behind every romantic gesture, there may be a negotiation of control. So he loves like a scientist, fully aware, deeply present, but always free to walk. Because real love begins not when you merge with the other, but when you no longer fear solitude. Power doesn't shout. It doesn't dress in gold or scream titles from rooftops. True power walks into a room and makes people sit straighter without a word. It's not in the volume, but in the vibration, the aura of a man who no longer needs to prove. He doesn't react because he's already decided. He doesn't explain because he's already understood. This kind of presence doesn't come from practice. It comes from death. Death of the ego, death of the need to be liked. And from those ashes rises something they can neither name nor ignore. They fear what they cannot read, and they should. Because the unpredictable man is the end of all control games. He is chaos wrapped in calm, strategy disguised as stillness. They want to know what you'll do next, how you'll respond, what you feel. Deny them that. Be polite, be kind, but be unreadable. Their need to decode you is the first sign you've already won. Let them chase ghosts while you build empires. The man who cannot be predicted becomes the one who sets the rules. And in the end, the world obeys those it cannot understand. You were not born to be digestible. You were not meant to fit, to please, to make sense to the masses. The more they understand you, the more they'll try to control you. That's why I say become illegible. Not chaotic but layered, not loud but deep. Make your silence feel heavier than their noise. Make your gaze speak more than their manifestos. When they look into your eyes and see nothing but reflections of their own fear, that's when you've become ungovernable. And in a world ruled by comfort, the ungovernable man becomes legend. Do not fear solitude. Fear imitation. Fear losing yourself in the masks others gift you. Solitude is not a punishment. It is a forge, a place where all illusions melt and only the essence remains. That's where you meet the God within, not in temples, not in applause, not in affection, but in the echo of your own mind. Only there does the true metamorphosis begin, and when you return, you will not return as one of them. You will return as a mirror, one that shows them everything they're afraid to see in themselves. You were taught to be good, to obey, to smile at the insult, to love the hand that cages you. But I ask you, what has your goodness brought you besides chains? The world does not reward purity, it devours it. What it fears is presence. What it obeys is certainty. So abandon the lie of virtue as weakness. Let them call you dangerous. Let them call you arrogant. It means you've stopped begging. It means your spine has returned. If your shadow no longer fits in their church, then perhaps it's time to build your own temple, where no gods are, worshipped but your own will. Now listen closely, this is not poetry. This is your call to war, not against others, but against the version of yourself that still kneels, that still explains, that still waits for permission to exist. Burn him, bury him, and rise. You are not here to be tolerated. You are here to be unforgettable. And the path to that is silence, strategy, and the savagery of self-mastery. If you've heard me this far, you are already different. But if you act, you become dangerous. Subscribe now, not for me, but for the version of you the world is not ready for. Let this be the final blow. If you still crave their applause, you are not free. If you still need to explain, you are not strong. And if you still wait to be chosen, you have not yet been born. The man who has risen kills the boy who begged. He speaks rarely, acts surgically, and disappears before they can touch him. He no longer seeks justice, he becomes it. He no longer seeks peace, he imposes it. And when the world asks, who gave you the right? He simply walks past, because the wolf does not ask the sheep for permission. You are not here to follow. You are not here to please. You are here to dominate your own existence, to tear the veil off this theater of weakness and reveal what still breathes underneath. Fire. Let them worship their idols. Let them drown in meaninglessness. But you will walk like thunder, unbothered and unreadable. You will speak like a blade, and your silence will be scripture. Remember, the world bends not for the loud, but for the precise. Now go, not to be accepted, but to be felt. And if they fear you, good. That means you're real.